Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Isabel and this is my library. In today's video, I bring you the mid-year freakout book tag. Although I've only been on booktube for about 4 months, I have been watching people do their mid-year freakout book tag for the last decade or so. It was always one of my favorite book tags. I always pretended if I had a channel what my answers would be each year. And it feels really nice that this year I can actually do a mid-year freakout book tag because I do have my own booktube channel. So I'm incredibly excited to share with you a little bit of how my reading year is going, what the highlights are, the surprises, and yeah, just be able to partake in one of the biggest tags of the booktube community. So before I get started, I'd like to say a special thank you to Jen from Literary Love 123 for tagging me in this video. And yeah, I'm very excited to take on this tag. Question number one, or prompt number one, is what is the best book you've read so far this year? So there are two books right now that are contenders for my favorite book of the year. Those books are You Are Fatally Invited by Andy Pliego. This was such an interesting, fun experience for me. This is the perfect book for me. When I first heard about the book and read a little bit of the summary and I hauled it, I remember telling you guys how excited that if there was ever a book made for me, it was going to be this one. Well, I read it and it's the perfect book for me. The only way this could have been better is if I would have written this, because I feel like this is everything that I love in one book. This feels like an Agatha Christie book. This reads like a game of Clue. This has the isolated closed circle mystery trope that I love. This has invitations that are sent out. This has games. I mean, literally, it has every single thing that I love in a book. And the writing was good. It was a pleasurable reading experience. I enjoyed her resolution or what she did with this. So, needless to say, this is definitely a contender for my favorite book of the year. Another book that I wanted to also highlight as a favorite of the year is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pimborough. And I know that this is a very old book. I know that I should have read this a while back. And part of my fear was that since I had not read this when I was supposed to read it, when everyone was ranting and raving about it, I felt, or I was scared that I wasn't going to love it as much. And it was just wonderful. It was everything that I thought it would be. The plot twist was plot twisting like people said it would, and it was just great. So both of these I think are contenders so far for my favorite book of the year. Question number two is best sequel you've read so far. As you guys know, I do not read a lot of books that are part of a series. I don't really read fantasy, which normally has a lot of series, but I do read a lot of manga. And I guess if I had to pick my favorite sequel, which doesn't necessarily mean it's like book two, right? But I would probably pick Real Account. That is a series that I believe I'm in book 6 right now, and I'm really enjoying. So, out of all of the manga series in particular that I have read this year, Real Account is continuously keeping me interested, and it is something that I'm still looking forward to reading. So, I'm gonna have to say that's my favorite sequel so far this year. So, question number three is my favorite reread of this year. And I always say that I want to do more rereads. I don't really think I do as many rereads as I would want to. Most of my rereads are books that I teach simply because I want them to feel fresh in my mind when I'm teaching them and discussing them with my students. So those are mostly the books I reread. So definitely the reread that I've enjoyed the most this year has been The Picture of Dorian Gray. I do read this every couple years, and I do teach this pretty often. I offer it as independent choice, but sometimes I teach it to whole group as well, which is what I did this year with this novel, and it's always such a wonderful reading experience. I enjoy it, I dive into it and continue researching things and learning from it and discovering new favorite parts. This year, I kind of looked into a little bit of the different editions of this book, the uncensored one and then the traditionally published one. And so it was a wonderful rereading experience. This is always a 5-star read for me. And yeah, this has been my favorite reread of this year. All right, so moving on. Question number 4, a genre that you've been loving. So you guys know I am primarily a horror, thriller, mystery reader. So I'd have to say that the genre I've been loving the most, I think, has been thrillers this year. Although I do love my horror and I do love my murder mysteries. And thriller and murder mystery kind of go hand in hand a lot, right? Unless we're talking about like maybe Agatha Christie mysteries that are traditional, true, just mysteries. I find that a lot of the thrillers that I read now that are not domestic thrillers are pretty much mystery thriller. So those two kind of overlap for me. But I'd have to say this year I've been very, very successful with my thrillers. I've had quite a few 5-star thrillers, which is rare for me because I love that genre. It's my favorite genre, it's my most read genre. So a lot of times I'm just not impressed with a lot of the thrillers. But this year I've had quite a few 5-star thrillers, and I just showed you my two contenders so far for best book of the year. Both of those qualify as thrillers, so I think I'm having a pretty good thriller year. Hopefully it continues that way for the remainder of the year. So question number 5, new release you haven't read yet but you want to. So I have two right now. There's so many, right? I mean, who am I kidding? There's like a million of them, but for the sake of timing and for the sake of picking an answer, I went ahead and chose two. And these are both books that I pre ordered, both books that are brand new releases as of a month or so. So these are the ones I'm looking forward to the most. So this first one is Kill Your Darlings by Peter Swanson. Peter Swanson is an author that I've read a lot of from before, and I usually am very happy with his books. There have been a couple books that haven't been 5 stars or 4 stars, but most of his thrillers are great. I love most of his thrillers. So Kill Your Darlings is one that I cannot wait to get to. And yeah, it's pretty short actually. This is pretty short, and look how beautiful this cover is, right? So I'm really looking forward to reading this year. And then my second new release that I'm really, really looking forward to reading, of course, is With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. My favorite part of summertime, besides being on vacation and trips and traveling and all of that stuff, but my favorite part of summer is looking forward to the brand new Riley Sager book that is released. It's just, I look forward to it every July. I look forward to reading a Riley Sager new release. And he is an author that I really, really enjoy. Most of his books are 4 stars, 5 stars for me. And I really, really am looking forward to this one. I've heard some good things. This has a lot of tropes or a premise that I think I will enjoy. um, it's basically on a train. I love trains. It feels very Agatha Christie, crime noir to me. I'm not sure if it's going to deliver on that, but that's what I'm anticipating or what I'm thinking. This one is on the lengthier side though. Again, not a lot of hype, but I have heard pretty good things about it. I really haven't heard anything bad about this one, so I'm looking forward to reading this one, and this will be part of my July TBR, which that video should be coming up soon. And yeah, I'm really excited for both of these. Both are thriller authors that I love and enjoy, and I'm excited to get to both of these new releases. Number 6, most anticipated release for the rest of the year. So these obviously are anticipated releases, so I don't physically have them with me, but there's so many of them, guys. So I'll go ahead and pop up pictures of them here, but I will tell you I've done pre-orders for all of these already, so I am anticipating them. So one of those is How to Survive a Horror Story. I'm also looking forward to The Intruder by Frida McFadden, and I actually have a buddy read planned for this with my friends Dee from the Reading Room 1972 and Michelle from Literary Me. And I'm really looking forward to The Intruder. This will be our second buddy read that we do on a Frida McFadden book, and it should be fun times. I'm also looking forward or anticipating The Woman in Suite 11. I read the first book of this, and Ruth Ware is so much fun for me. She's usually a thriller author that I can count on for a good time, and I'm intrigued because first, it's been so many years that she published the first book, and now we have a sequel to it, and it's her only sequel. Like, we don't really get a lot of sequels. I know Peter Swanson has the sequel, The Kind Worth Killing, right? So that's something that was kind of new when that happened. So I'm interested in seeing how Ruth Ware is jumping on that too, doing a sequel for a thriller. And I enjoyed the first book, so I'm hoping I enjoy this one. And the last book that I am anticipating is We Love You, Bunny. And how could I not, right? I mean, I love Mona Watt and her writing. I believe I've read everything of hers. Maybe there's one I haven't read. I think I haven't read the one about the play and the teacher or the play or something. All's Well, I think that's what that one's called. I think that's the only one I haven't read. Everything else I've read and loved by Mona Watt, and I loved Bunny. I think Bunny was wonderful, and so I'm excited to be able to have another go at that world, at that fever dream, at that experience that was Bunny. So those are some of the books that I'm anticipating, and I've already pre-ordered, and I am eagerly waiting for their release dates. So next, number 7, biggest disappointment of the year so far, and I'm going to have to pick Haunt Sweet Home for this one. I read this earlier on in the year, and I know this shouldn't be a disappointment for me because when I picked it up, I had heard a lot of people not liking it. And I actually took long in picking it up and reading it, even though it had been on my TBR for a while, because the reviews were that were coming out were not great. I enjoyed reading it because it had a lot of the elements that I liked, but I feel like it just didn't deliver. I ended up giving this a 2.5 stars. This is focusing on like haunted houses and reality TV show based on like following houses that are haunted and filming in them and stuff. Just a lot of things that I like that should have been a book that I really enjoyed. So, and I didn't. And I guess that's why I'm a little disappointed with like some of the horror books that I've been reading this year. There have been a couple that have just not been great for me. So, number 8 is biggest surprise of the year so far. And I've had a couple, but I decided to go with this one. So I'm picking The Blanks by Grady Hendrix. And it shouldn't be a surprise, right? And by the way, you're seeing this before you're seeing my wrap up for this month. So you haven't really heard my thoughts on this yet, but you know, you're hearing it first here. And I should have been surprised because it's a horror novella by Grady Hendrix. Of course I was gonna love this, right? And I did. I did love it. I gave this 5 stars, but I was surprised by how invested I was in the story, how much I liked it. And this is part of that Shivers collection, which I've been reading a lot of this month actually. And I knew it was a short novella, very, very short. I believe it's like 40 pages or something. I knew it was short, but I felt I wanted more. I think it's the right length. Don't get me wrong. I think it's the perfect length for this kind of story, a perfect little novella or longer short story, but I just wanted more. I was so intrigued with this concept. And obviously, in my wrap up, I'll get more into details, but that's why it was surprising for me that I really loved it as much. And it was so good. Like, I recommend it to everyone. If you've never tried Grady Hendrix and you want to see his writing style, I think give The Blanks a go and you'll see if you like it or not. It is, however, lacking a little bit of the humor that we normally find in Grady Hendrix's pieces. So that's the only thing I would say. Like, it doesn't have a lot of that humor, but it's so good. It was so good, guys. So that was my biggest surprise of the year. All right, so number 9, newest favorite author, debut, or new to you? No surprise, my new favorite author is Andy Pliego. This is her debut. I'm constantly following her on social media. I'm watching all her stories. She's currently working on her second book. She teases like a lot of little things about it. And I just feel she's amazing. Like, I enjoy her presence on social media. She seems someone so likable. She's like everything that I would want to be if I were an author. So I'm kind of obsessed with her right now. I can't wait for her to continue having success and having more bestsellers. And I'm hoping she continues writing books that are perfect for me. So she's my new favorite, newfound author, Andy Pliego. So number 10 is newest fictional crush. And this is so difficult for me. I think it's because of the books that I read, right? So I don't read fantasy. I don't read romance very much. I don't read romantasy. And I think this is where people find their crushes. And I just don't have a lot of that. So, my crush, I am picking an answer. So I'm gonna pick an answer, but it was very difficult for me simply because a lot of the books that I read don't have that. So I am going with Twilight from Spy Family. So I'm picking Twilight from Spy Family because he is a spy. I mean, that's a great thing. He's a spy, and he's a good father figure and a good husband figure to his fake pseudo family. And yeah, I'm going with him. I think he's a cool kind of character, and I have to say he is the only viable option that I have for a crush. I haven't really read anything that I think would allow me to crush over a character. Most of the characters are either a little unhinged, or they don't survive very long, or it is what it is. But I'm going with Twilight from Spy Family. Next, 11. That's newest favorite character. And I have to go with Isabel from The Nightingale. I absolutely am in awe of Isabel from The Nightingale. So she is rebellious. She has a very strong sense of right and wrong. She is driven by her beliefs, unwavering beliefs. She is not afraid. She's brave. And I feel like Isabel from the Nightingale is everything that I would love to be. She is just such an incredible character. And although at times she's very young and naive and reckless, I think that makes her more likable to me because she's a real character with real emotions and outbursts and um, that kind of feel. But I really enjoyed reading about Isabel, about the Nightingale, and yeah, she is right now my favorite character. Following suit, question 12 is a book that made you cry, and I'm gonna bring back up the Nightingale. And as you guys know, I don't read historical fiction. This is not a type of genre that I normally read. I did read this as a buddy read with Jackie from the Reading Wordsmith, and she kind of pushed me to read this because she is a big historical fiction reader, and this was just a wonderful reading experience, but it made me cry a lot. I like to read as a means of escaping, and I like the weird, the uncomfortable, the creepy, the scary. Those are those are my comfort areas for reading. And although I am a classics girly, and although I enjoy literature that moves me and makes me feel something and all of that, historical fiction for me is just something that I avoid simply because it's too heavy with the emotions. uh, it's just very heavy for me, and I don't like my reading to be heavy, if that makes any kind of sense. It's probably the Pisces in me, the dreamer in me, wanting to escape reality. Why would I be reading historical fiction if I want to escape the horrors of this world? So yeah, that's, but it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate historical fiction. It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy when I read books like these, that I don't enjoy those reading experiences. Of course I do. Um, and the language and all of that. So, but to be fair, the question was something that made me cry, and this definitely did. I sobbed at the very ending. I closed the book and was sobbing for a good 10 minutes after. My husband looks over at me, and I told him, "This is why I don't read historical fiction," as I'm, sobbing. But yeah, this definitely made me cry. It is my only Kristen Hanna book, but I have heard that most of her books tend to be tearjerkers. So this is a book that made me sob. Question number 13 is a book that made you happy. The Tenant by Frida McFadden. And so this made me happy for a few reasons. So obviously it's a really good popcorn thriller. As Frida McFadden normally writes her thrillers, you just can't stop flipping the pages. So that was an entertaining read. But the reason I was so happy reading this is because it was a buddy read for me and a couple of my booktube friends, as I told you earlier. And we just had such a good time reading this. We had a great time in our live talking about it, and it was just, it would not have been as fun or wouldn't have made me laugh as much if I wouldn't have read it with them. So it was a wonderful experience to share this with them. And yeah, it made me happy. Like it made me laugh a lot, and there were so many quirky things and quirky scenarios and characters, and I felt like it had a lot of funny moments. Like this is one of her funnier works. So definitely that's why I picked it as a book that made me happy. 14, the most beautiful book you've bought or received. So I have a lot. I had so many to pick from, like special editions, collector editions, books with really pretty setbacks or end papers or whatnot. But I decided to kind of go with a book that the cover is the most beautiful to me, because this is like everything that I love, everything that I like. It was a cover buy for me. And honestly, I've heard mixed things about this. Not a lot of people are talking about this book, but I bought it purely because the cover is just everything. My aesthetic or my vibe, if I had to like put it on a book cover, it would be this. And it's Polybius. And I mean, just look at that arcade cabinet, right? I mean, it's so beautiful. And the neon pink words and this beautiful, like, lighting on the back, the blue and the purple. And then look at the back with, like, the bloody handprint on there. I mean, this is everything. Obviously, I'm anticipating reading this. Obviously, I want to read this soon, but I picked it for this cover question because I love this. It's just my vibe. It's my aesthetic. The neon, the 80s feel, the arcade, the gaming, the horror, all of it. So I'm going with this. Polybius by Colin Armstrong. 15 books you want to read before the end of the year. So many, too many. I will pick an answer though. But there's so many. And this is why I love reading and collecting books and having a booktube and being able to talk about books, because I just get very excited about the idea of reading books. Like the idea of a book excites me. Like when I'm watching booktube and people are talking about books, I get excited about a book and I immediately look it up. I order it, or I put it on my cart, or I put it on my wish list, because that part is super exciting to me. So there are so many books. I'm surrounded by books I'm excited to read. But the books that I want to make sure I read this year, I have both of these as part of the 25 to read in 25 or 24 to read in 24. I don't even know. I think they're carry-ons from other years, but this is the year that I want to make sure I read them. I picked two of them. I picked Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. This has been on my TBR forever. I need to get to it this year because it's a haunted house story. It has a bunch of writers in it. I've heard great things. I know that there are some problematic things with descriptions of characters and things like that. I'm not really sure. I don't want to speak about that because I haven't read it, right? But I do know that there are some, conversations about that. I'll let you know once I read it, but I'm so excited for this. Like the premise alone, um, is has captivated me, and I have heard that it's a really good haunted house story, which is one of my favorite horror tropes, a good old haunted house story, and they're so difficult to come by, like the good ones. So yeah, this is something I have to read this year. And the next thing I have to read this year is In the Hall with a Knife. I have the entire trilogy. I have the trilogy. This is based obviously on Clue, my favorite game, favorite movie, all of that. And I can't believe I haven't read it yet. Like I pre-ordered these, like, and every time, and it's one of those things that I've talked to you before. Like the more I anticipate a book, the more scared I am of reading it, so I push it away. But this is the year. Like I have to read this. So both of these I will read by the time the end of the year comes around. Okay, and hold me to it. Hold me to it because I will do that. And yeah, next is 16, some favorite book community members. I have a little list because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget, but there are so many booktubers that I love and admire and I've been watching forever. you know Booktubers that I think are great, that have inspired me to be here creating content. uh the Booktubers, books like Whoa, Books and Lala, Gabby Reads, those are all people I admire, and I've watched their videos for years and years and years, and I think they're wonderful. But the people I do want to kind of include for this part are booktubers that I feel I've personally connected to, that I've built friendships with, that I have established a community with, because they are smaller channels for the most part, channels that started right around the same time as I did. They are channels that interact with my content, that are, supportive of my channel and my videos. And yeah, that's basically the ones that I kind of want to highlight. So I'd like for you to, if you're not following these channels already, for you to check them out. If you like my content, I'm sure you will love theirs. And they're just wonderful people, wonderful content creators. And so I wanted to kind of shout out Jen from Literary Love 123, Jackie from the Reading Wordsmith, Michelle from Literary Me, Dee from the Reading Room 1972, Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems, Caitlin from Spill the Reads, and Victoria from the Minimalist Reads. Those are just some channels that I feel are wonderful. They're channels that deserve more love. So please check them out and yeah, support them because they are wonderful content creators. And this pretty much, guys, wraps up my mid-year freakout tag. My very first one, hopefully the first of many, but this is my first one, and I was so excited to be able to reflect on the first half of my year and reflect on these last 4 months of being on BookTube. And yeah, just really, really enjoyed this. I will go ahead and tag a couple people below, but I think everyone kind of knows this tag. And if you haven't done it, I encourage you to do it. And if you do it, please tag me so that I can watch it and I can add more books to my list of things that I want to read, because I'm sure that will happen once you start talking about books. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you stayed up until this point, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not doing so already. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys. In a good spot. I might be having a Sephora delivery. Give me 2 seconds. So unfortunately, that was not my Sephora delivery.